So last week I traded during the US presidential election. The volatility, by the way, was unbelievable, let me tell you. Unbelievable volatility like you've never seen, believe me. Through just 1 week of trading, I was able to secure my guaranteed allocation on my new Darwin. Before I review the trades that I actually took, I want to capture two of the most essential factors when it comes to Darwinex. First, my account is up 7%, and I got to 7% without over leveraging. So unlike with a prop firm, where you need to get your account up to a certain profit target, with the Darwin, it's more about how you trade. The sizes of the actual positions are not something that you have to worry about. It's all about the actual performance and the strategy. The second thing is that there's no news trading restrictions. That's great. That means that you don't have to check my FX book or any of those economic calendars before you decide to enter a trade, because you won't get penalized for entering or exiting a position during news. And in many cases, you cannot say the same if you're trading with a prop firm account. So keep that in mind. This is my Darwin. Currently, I'm up 5% overall, and the max drawdown is 7%. So September was positive, October was negative, and November, I'm up 7% for the month in the positive. The statistics are down below. In terms of the actual assets I trade, most are forex. I also trade some indices. A lot of the trades are on Euro USD. Here are the indice trades, and then some other pairs that I've traded here and there. So GBP CAD, NZD USD, GBP Australian dollar, and New Zealand yen. So my favorite pairs to trade are actually New Zealand yen and Euro USD. In terms of the sessions that I trade, about half of the trades are taken during the European session, around 34% in the US session, and then 50% in Asian session. A lot of the trades that I take, they actually hit their target or their stop loss when I'm asleep during the European session. And as shown in the top right of the screen, I hit the allocation rating of 75, and so I'm done trading for the month and will be guaranteed to get an allocation. First, I'd like to go over these trades I took on New Zealand yen. So the middle of the week was when the election happened, and so there was a lot of volatility. I took 3 buys, looking for a bullish movement to get above the previous week's high. So from the previous week, there was a high on Sunday. The high on Wednesday was around a similar level before price went back down. But I just had to figure out how to really get into that type of movement. So looking at the 15-minute chart, there's a few different things that can be seen here. I just turned on this Elliott wave indicator that I have, and these fib levels are important for looking at targets. So starting out on Monday, there had been a move where price went downward and then back up. When I saw price go up, I thought that we were going to be bullish, and I wanted to hold so that I could get some of that momentum to the upside to get past those highs. In drawing the fib from the high to the low on Tuesday that had formed, there had been a 1.618 level around 91.95. And so that was one of the ideal areas to see if price was going to consolidate or potentially reverse. So I took the buy, and I'll just mark out that 91.95 level now. So it's around there. Get rid of this fib. All right. So entry criteria that I was looking at was any type of bullish indication that I saw during Asian session. So I saw that on Monday. I took the buy. We were getting past some of these highs over here and then continuing to go up into London session and then consolidate during that switch over into the New York session. So by the time I woke up, I was actually in a bit of drawdown into the next day, but I was holding this position because I felt that there was a really strong indication based off of what price was showing that it was going to be bullish. So my stop loss was not hit. My stop loss was actually around 30 pips below Asian session low from Monday. So I held that. Price was really wicking around a lot. And I think that part of that was due to the volatility of the election. But I continued to hold. I'll go a bit further down to look at some of the details that led me to take another buy. All these wicks formed during Tuesday's Asian session. So as Tuesday Asian session was closing, I took another buy. Reason being that all of these wicks here were showing that price could not push back down near the Asian session low. Even though it tried, it didn't get there. So all this is just noise. All these wicks here, I just consider that to be noise. There's not really much to be able to tell just from looking at them alone. But this was during the US night, so this is when votes were being counted. We were seeing who the next president was going to be based off of the tallies that were being done. So I was just sitting there watching the news and looking to see what was going to be happening next. So price kept going up and down, but it was not getting near the Asian session low. I ignored all of this noise, and looking towards that 91.95 level, I decided to set my target a bit below Asian session high in case price would get there when I was asleep, which it did here. So that was a 29 pip move. And then, of course, during London session, price actually went near that 91.95 level. I wasn't in at that point in time, but I observed that. Then we had price generally trending to the upside, and I was looking for more bullishness to get above that 91.95 level and to really ultimately get to those previous week's highs. So from an entry criteria perspective for this next trade, Wednesday, it was Asian session. A low formed around 7 p.m. Eastern time. There was a big push upward. This imbalance was touched, and then price continued to shoot up. So because this imbalance was touched, I set a new buy once we were breaking above this high, which was hitting. Took the buy once I saw this strong candle here. Very bullish, very strong. Price pushed past the established high of that Asian session. So this is only 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Looking for a new high to be formed and protecting myself against any downward pushes by setting the stop loss a bit below Asian session low. Zooming back out now. Price pushed past that level with conviction, and I was setting a target at 92.27. So the reason I set my target at 92.27 was because of the psychological quarter level that it is near. So 92.25, 25, 50, 75, round numbers. These are typically levels where it's good to set targets because from a psychological perspective, orders are entered and exited around these levels. So 92.27 was my level, and I was out of that trade. It was pretty interesting because after some consolidation, price actually went downward. So that was near the high of the week. I also traded New Zealand US dollar, which was pretty similar because of the strength that the New Zealand dollar had that week. Looking at the week overall, Monday was lower than Tuesday, and then Tuesday had seen that bearish momentum before that bullishness coming from that New Zealand dollar. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, typically highs and lows of the week. There was some indication that New Zealand dollar was going to be bullish. Even just looking here from London session into Asian session, a move upward of about 18 pips in terms of new lows being formed. I was already feeling that there was going to be more bullishness, and I wanted to find a smart entry. So during the New York session, there had been at 10 a.m., big bullish candle, a little bit of consolidation back into this area of imbalance. So because of that, I took the buy. Again, looking at the low being formed and then a new higher low being formed. I thought that if we were going to break beneath this low, there's a good chance of bearishness. That did not happen, and price continued to be bullish. Looking at potential targets, there's a few different things to see here. One is looking at the Elliott wave count. If you draw the fib from the high to the low, 0.6001 is around an even level, and that's actually where at least this indicator marked that. I didn't really take that as a target because my area of interest was around this wick at these candles here. So these candles are a bit, maybe they're somewhat similar to railroad candles. So I wanted to see what would happen around this area because there's a big bullish candle, then a big bearish candle, and the bearish candle has a wick on top. So I wanted to exit a bit before the open of that candle so that I could secure profits. And so I did that. And this whole trade happened during Wednesday night. So after this bullish intent really presented itself, it was about holding the trade and being patient until price got to that level. So actually, price shot straight up during Asian session. So Asian session opened, and it was around that maybe 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock hour. This big bullish candle formed during the 8 o'clock to 8:15 time frame. So it was around that time that we began to see real bullishness being pumped into the market. 8 o'clock candle formed. This doji formed, another big bullish candle with imbalance. And all these areas of imbalance are really showing just how strong the New Zealand dollar really was. 30 pips going into London session. So looking at where price went from entry, it's about 40 pips to close out the Asian session. And that's before we even get into the actual London session. So once London opened, And again, I was asleep during this, but we can even see more signs of bullishness. This little area of imbalance. If you can zoom in, we see price go up and then back down, tapping into it. A bit more of consolidation around these areas of wicks. I'm sure within this wick right here, there's also another imbalance if you really go down. And these are more signs of bullishness, just following the trend upward. And then again, similar to on the New Zealand yen, Thursday is the high of the week. So on the euro dollar, I also took some buys. Looking at the overall week, Tuesday was a huge push downward that I was actually monitoring, but this felt really dangerous to enter, so I decided to sit out over 100 pips during Asian session alone, and then continued downwards, some wicks going on here until Wednesday had formed a new low for the week. So there were some areas left of imbalance, and so I was trying to figure out what will be happening. These are always very interesting areas to look at. When price leaves these types of gaps, it's very interesting to see what happens. This week was pretty erratic, but I wanted to make sure that I at least participated in some of the moves. I thought it was going to be worth doing. So there were these weird wicks forming leading up to the New York session, and then actually during New York session, this candle wicked up into the area of imbalance that I'd been looking at before going back down. Due to this wick, I knew that price had to revisit this area. So once we got back down and kind of consolidated a bit, I entered a buy, looking to get really just to around the high of this candle here, which had a tiny wick on top. And I thought to exit just beneath it in case price didn't get there. And so that was a 32 pip move, thanks in part to these two candles right here, which really went right to the target. After that, I saw that there had been a new low formed, which was significantly higher than the previous one. So to me, that was a sign of more bullishness to come. Asian session opened. After that 7 to 8 o'clock hour, we were forming a new low, but price reversed and then continued bullish. These big candles formed, allowing us to break the high that had previously been formed during Asian session. And so with that was a sign to me that price was going to continue to be bullish. Also, looking at how the New Zealand dollar had performed, I expected similar for euro dollar. So because of that, I took a buy and waited to see if we would get past this previous high that I've been looking at. And so during the London session, price continued to be bullish with more large candles and then consolidated a bit before going even further up. This is 8 o'clock a.m. This is around the time that I wake up. By the time I woke up, there was already 100 pips in profit just from that move. So these were two buys right there, which were able to help me to gain on the account. And looking at this area that I was targeting, well, it's just another area where a wick is. So really, whenever there's wicks, there's a good chance that price is going to do something around that level. So here, price pushed past that level, but then went back down and formed a wick. And so that could have been a chance to take another buy, because these wick over wick zones are pretty significant when it comes to large price swings. And then price continued to go up on Thursday. And these pink lines here are levels of significance that I marked out from the past. To me, what this indicates is that, yes, Thursday, there's a new high. And price is now consolidating around a significant level on the daily chart before heading back down. So this is a new high on Thursday. And then the consolidation happens. And for the rest of the week, price fell off and went bearish. And just to show how these levels look, we are consolidating around them before going back down. So these levels are marked out from December of 2023. It's always good to look at the charts that are on the higher time frames, because a lot of the time you can notice that price will do things around these levels. I mean, look at all these potential areas of interest that are just existing. So generally, this is what I like to do. I like to look at what's going on the higher time frame before looking to see where the entries can be on the lower time frame. So that's a recap of the trades right now. My account is currently not going to be traded for the rest of the month. This month, I barely hit 75, so hopefully next month I can get an even higher rating. I'll definitely be sure to post an update about how that trading goes once I begin trading with that allocation. Follow along if you want to see how this journey goes. And I'll definitely be sure to put out another recap to see how trading goes for my first allocation in the month of December.